ഹലോ കൂട്ടുകാരെ, നമ്മളിന്ന് നോക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് 10 10ാം ക്ലാസ്സിലെ ബയോളജി ഫസ്റ്റ് ചാപ്റ്റർ സെൻസേഷൻസ് ആൻഡ് റെസ്പോൺസസിലെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആൻഡ് ആൻസേഴ്സ് ആണ് നോക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, ഡിഫൈൻ സ്റ്റിമുലസ്. The senses that evoke responses in organisms are called stimuli. These are two types, external stimuli and internal stimuli. External stimuli includes sound, touch, heat, chemicals, pressure, cold, radiations. Internal stimuli, hunger, infection, pressure variation, thirst, exhaust. Second question, what is the function of nervous system? To generate and coordinate responses according to external and internal changes. Name the parts included in our nervous system. Brain, spinal cord, nerves and receptors. The structural and functional units of the nervous system. Neurons, otherwise called nerve cells. Structure of a model neuron. The common parts included in a neuron or nerve cell are dendrites, dendron, cell body or cytone, axon, myelin sheath or Schwann cells, axonite, synaptic nerves. A neuron has mainly the following parts: a cytone or cell body, impulse receiving dendrons. Branches are known as dendrites. Impulse transmitting axon. Branches are axonite. And synaptic nerves for secreting neurotransmitter. In certain neurons, the nerve fibers are covered by myelin sheath made up of white shining Schwann cells. Sixth question, the protective covering of nerve fibers, that is axons, mention its function. The covering is called the myelin sheath. It provides nutrients and oxygen to the axon, accelerate impulses, act as an electric insulator, protects the axon from external shocks, gives white appearance, white matter to the neural parts. Seventh question, differentiate between white matter and grey matter. The part of nerve where myelinated neurons are present in abundance is called as the white matter. The part of nerve where the cell bodies and non-myelinated neurons are present is called as the grey matter. Table showing the function of different parts of nerve cell. Part of the nerve cell and its functions. Dendrite receives impulses. Dendron carries impulses from dendrite to the cell body. Cytone or cell body passes impulses to the axon. Axon carries impulses from the cell body to outside. Schwann cells protects the axon and increases the speed of impulse. Axonite carries impulses to the synaptic nerve. Synaptic nerve secretes neurotransmitter. Ninth question, name the swollen ends of axon. How is it important in the transmission of impulse? Synaptic nerves from which neurotransmitter secretes the impulses are transmitted across the synaptic cleft only through a chemical secreted from the synaptic nerve, that is the neurotransmitter. Give example for neurotransmitter. Acetylcholine. Dopamine is another example. Define synapse. The junction between neurons or between neurons and muscles or glands is known as the synapse. It helps to regulate the speed and direction of impulses. The impulses are transmitted across the synaptic cleft only through a chemical neurotransmitter secreted from the synaptic nerves. The electrical messages conducted through nerves is called impulses. How is an impulse generated? The difference in the distribution of ions maintains positive charge on the outer surface and negative charge inside the plasma membrane of the receptor part of neuron. When stimulated, this ionic equilibrium, that is its polarity, changes and the outer surface becomes negatively charged and inner become positively charged. As a result, impulse generated. This charge difference stimulates its adjacent parts and similar changes occur there too. Thus, a continuous flow of the impulse becomes possible. How is the impulses transmitted through the neurons? Impulse due to stimulus and it's to dendrites, dendron, cyton, axon, axonite, synaptic nerve, were the secretion of neurotransmitter to the synaptic cleft and then stimulation in the adjacent dendrites and it how the impulse forms. When impulses reach at the synaptic nerve, a chemical substance known as neurotransmitter released in the synaptic cleft. This chemical stimulates the adjacent dendrites to form new electric impulses. Name the two types of neurons. Sensory neurons carry impulses from different body parts to the brain and spinal cord. Motor neurons carry impulses from the brain and spinal cord to various parts of body. Define a nerve. A nerve is a group of axons or nerve fibers covered by connective tissue. Show different kinds of nerves with their functions in a table. Sensory nerves consist of sensory neurons. Carries impulses from sense organs to the brain and spinal cord. Motor nerves consist of motor neurons. Carry impulses from brain and spinal cord to different organs. Mixed nerves consist of sensory and motor neurons. Carry impulses from brain and spinal cord to different organs and vice versa. How is human nervous system classified? Central nervous brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system consists of cranial nerves 12 pairs, spinal nerves 31 pairs. The protective measures for human brain. The brain is protected inside a hard skull and it is covered by a 3-layered membrane called the meninges. Cerebrospinal fluid, a fluid formed inside the meninges, also protects the brain. The outer covering of brain and spinal cord is called meninges. The fluid which provides nutrients and oxygen to the brain tissues is called cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. How is the CSF formed? Give its function. Cerebrospinal fluid is a fluid formed from the blood inside the meninges and eventually reabsorbed to the blood. Functions of CSF are: CSF provides nutrients and oxygen to brain tissues, regulate the pressure inside the brain, protects brain from injuries. Name the functional parts of human brain. Human brain has outer cerebrum, cerebellum and medulla oblongata and inner thalamus and hypothalamus. Table showing different parts of brain, peculiar feature and functions of each part of the brain, features and their functions. Cerebrum, the largest part of the brain with many fissures and folds in its cortex. Cerebral cortex is seen as grey matter and inner medulla as white matter. Function: center of feeling senses and also the center of qualities like thought, imagination, intelligence and memory. Cerebellum, the second largest part, seen as 2 flaps, and its function: coordinates muscular activities and maintains equilibrium of the body. Medulla oblongata, the rod-shaped lower part, controls involuntary actions like heartbeat and breathing. Thalamus, the seat of cerebrum, act as the relay station of impulses to and fro the cerebrum and also analyzes the impulses. Hypothalamus, seen just below the thalamus, plays a major role in the maintenance of homeostasis. The largest part of human brain is called cerebrum. The peripheral part of brain is the cerebral cortex. There are many fissures and folds in the cerebral cortex. What is the advantage of this? This is an adaptation to include more number of neurons and thereby increase the efficiency of cerebrum. Any mild injury to the medulla oblongata may lead to sudden death. Why? Medulla oblongata controls involuntary actions like heartbeat and breathing. Any mild injury to medulla oblongata results malfunctioning of breathing and heartbeat, and this may lead to death. Any person could not walk easily after drinking alcoholic beverage. Can you see which part of his brain is affected? Cerebellum, which maintains equilibrium of the body through muscular coordination. After a road accident, a person lost his memory for a few days. In which part of his brain got injured? Cerebrum. The central nerve seat as the continuation of medulla oblongata is called spinal cord. How is our spinal cord protected? Spinal cord is protected inside the vertebral column and it is covered by the meninges. The which part of the spinal cord is filled with cerebrospinal fluid? Central canal. Describe the structure of our spinal cord. Spinal cord, which is the continuation of medulla oblongata, is situated within the vertebral column and covered by a three-layered membrane called meninges. The outer part of spinal cord is white matter and inner is grey matter. The central canal at its center is filled with CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. Spinal nerves originated from the spinal cord as dorsal root, sensory, and ventral root, motor. Spinal cord, sensory impulse, dorsal root. Spinal cord, motor impulse, ventral root. Mention the functions of spinal cord. Transmitting impulses from different parts of our body to and for the brain. Coordinates the rapid and repeated movements during walking, running, etc. Effects certain reflex actions. What do you mean by reflex action? Reflex actions are the accidental and involuntary responses of the body in response to a stimulus. These are two types. Cerebral reflexes. Example, blinking of eyes, sudden fright when hearing a loud noise or seeing a snake sneezing. Spinal reflexes. Example, on touching hot object, the hand is withdrawn. Withdrawal of the leg when a spine peers into the feet. The pathway of impulses in a reflex action. A reflex arc. What are the parts that involve in a reflex arc? Stimulus receiving receptor, sensory neuron, interneuron, motor neuron, affecting muscles. The central neuron, which converts sensory impulse into motor impulse, is usually known as an interneuron. A few nerves in the peripheral nervous system that function automatically and involuntarily is known as autonomous nervous system. It includes sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. How the contrasting actions of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system help to maintain the normalcy of the physiological activities? Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system activate with or without the endocrine gland system involuntarily. The contrasting actions of both systems help to maintain the normalcy of the physiological activities. Action of sympathetic nervous system and the action of parasympathetic nervous system. Eye. Pupil dilates, pupil constrict. Heart. Heartbeat increases, heartbeat becomes normal. Lungs. Trachea expand, trachea contracts. Liver. Glycogen converts to glucose, glucose converts to glycogen. Adrenal gland. Hormone secretion increases, hormone secretion decreases. Urinary bladder. Retain normal state, constrict. Salivary gland. Production of saliva decreases, production of saliva increases. Stomach. Working decreases, increases. Intestine. Peristalsis slows down, peristalsis increases. List out the physiological changes that may occur when a boy facing the audience during a competition, that we already studied in the previous question, that here you can add the actions in a sympathetic nervous system. The table showing neural disorders, reason and symptoms. Disorder and its cause and its symptom. Alzheimer's disease. Continuous degeneration of neurons due to the accumulation of an insoluble protein. And the symptoms include complete loss of memory. Parkinson's disease. Degeneration of specific ganglia in the brain due to the deficiency of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter. Symptoms include loss of body balance, tremor in muscles, flow of saliva. Epilepsy. Discharge of irregular electrical impulses from brain. Symptoms include fits due to uncontrolled muscular contractions. Fourth, discharge from mouth, clenching of teeth, unconsciousness. Name a neurotransmitter which is secreted in the brain. What will happen when the production of this hormone ceases in a person? Dopamine. The deficiency of dopamine may result in a disease called Parkinson's disease.